Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Get Great Health Podcast. I'm Drake, and this is where we talk about getting your health to the next level. Whether it's through lifting weights, eating right, or the cool world of biohacking, we've got you covered. Here, we're all about the simple steps and big leaps you can take to feel amazing. We chat with the smartest folks out there, people who really know how to tune our bodies to run like well oiled machines. We're talking health pros, nutrition gurus, and the biohacking experts who make science sound like magic. And biohacking's our big thing, and it's all about those little tweaks that can make a huge difference in how you feel. Want to know how to sleep better, eat smarter, and live longer? And we're diving deep into that. So, whether you're just starting to look into a healthier lifestyle or you're ready to take it up a notch, you're in the right place. And remember, it's not just about getting through the day, it's about making every day better than the last. Before we kick off today's chat, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. They're packed with tips that could really turn things around for you. And as always, remember, I want you to get great health.
Not risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be.
What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning into today's podcast. I am here with the founder of Jacoby Plunges, Jacoby himself. And if you're unfamiliar with Jacoby Plunges, it is a social wellness club that holds cold plunging events and other kinds of events in Austin all the time. And these are increasingly getting more and more popular. I've seen them getting sold out. And today I get to sit down with Jacoby and ask him how he built a community, why he built this community, and all the amazing things he's doing with it. So without further ado, Jacoby, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn about everything you're doing with Jacoby Plunges. So could you give me like a little bit of background on why you started it?
Yeah, let me say, I started it really as a way for me to meet other people. Um, and that was something that I wanted to do, not in a way where I was going out to the bars or not as a way to stay out late and not as a way to drink, but as a way to do something that's good for myself and to be in a more present state while I'm meeting other people. And so when I first moved to Austin, I didn't know, I didn't have any friends, and so I started to find ways um, to do activities with other people that I enjoy doing, and I would invite friends and eventually their friends to come cold plunging with me. And really, I guess I don't know if you probably gonna get to this, but kind of like how cold plunging kind of started for me even before that point.
Yeah, let's
Um,
hear it. I love cold plunging.
yeah, cold plunging is great. It's something that's become really trendy these days, and I think sometimes people forget that it's been around for thousands of years, really back to you know back to when we started to inhabit this world. Cold water is not a new invention. And so when I started to do it was when I was younger, with my family as a way um, to spend some quality family time. So we would go to a Korean spa, which traditionally in my culture, in Korean culture, is something that we would go to get scrubs. So if everyone or anyone wants to know the secret to why Korean people have good skin, that's the secret. I just laid it out for everyone. To all the listeners, it's we would go to the Korean spa almost every month, to bathe in hot water, to get our skin loose, then to exfoliate the dead skin, and then go into the cold water to close up all the pores and to feel really refreshed after. And so that was really my first time doing the cold plunge. And it was also something that I could do with my family. And that was something that was special to me because it was also part of my recovery process for when I was going through some surgeries when I was growing up due to a condition called cleft lip and palate, which is a condition where there was an incomplete formation in my lip and the roof of my mouth. And so that created a whole array of issues with my breathing and my speech and just learning how to eat, really, because I would have to get tubes through my mouth to be able to swallow, which made it a little bit hard for me to get fed. But during this process, the doctors had me learn a bunch of breathing techniques. And one exercise in particular was when they had me go in colder water so that I would be able to learn to focus on just breathing. And this was really the first time that I used it as a practice um, to feel better. And throughout this whole period, I had 8 operations done on my lips, nose, and mouth. And that ranges. I can go on and on about like the specifics of the surgeries. It started with lip repair, cleft lip repair at 10 weeks old, and then led to a cleft palate repair at 10 months old, at which point I needed to give some time for my lip and mouth to recover and to grow properly. And I had another surgery to repair my to make some touch-ups on my lip during this time, and that was when I was 3. And then I got a braces, because part of the repair made it hard for my teeth to form correctly, and so I needed to get braces, and then also some work done on my gums to make the formation in my for my teeth to grow properly. And after that, I got a certain operation called rhinoplasty, which is work done on my nose because my nasal passageway for my left and right side wasn't symmetrical, and so that made it hard for me to breathe evenly through both of my passageways. And so that was my first surgery on my nose. And then that was, when was that? That was when I was 10. And then I got braces again once my the gum recovered in my mouth to fully get it, I guess, straight. And that was at 12. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes to like remember exactly like what all my surgeries were because there were so many. And then I got a tooth implant because part of the braces was bringing my teeth to be more straight on the outside of my mouth so that there was room created to put a tooth in that space that was created. And then after that, there was another rhinoplasty surgery at 17 to make some revisions for the other surgeries that I got done. And then lastly, I got a laser to remove some scar tissue and to get actually lip fillers for the part of the lip that was missing, that got work done. And that was the last surgery that I got for this whole process. And now it's better. People have told me that they don't even know that I had that condition, and so it must have been a successful surgery process.
Well, I agree with them. You look fantastic, Jacoby.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's something that I really had a hard time with when I was growing up because I spent so much time in the hospital learning how to do these basic functions that most everyone just grew up naturally doing. And I remember seeing a speech therapist, a respiratory therapist to go over different, techniques with how to breathe and how to talk. and working on some of those muscles that that were required to do those things that most people don't, have um, a second thought to do. And so during this time, it was something that I I was um, it was something that I definitely struggled with. But again, through kind of fast forward coming to Austin and taking some of these practices, especially the cold plunge, I was able to get through some of those challenges and some of those hardships. And now it's kind of what I'm doing full time to really share some of those similar experiences and some of those exercises and techniques to bring people closer together.
So that is an incredible story that, especially with how much you're in and out of the hospital, having two surgeries before you're even 1 year old. You said at 10 weeks and 10 months.
Yeah, 10 weeks and 10 months.
That has got to be give you like a slightly different perspective on life, which is how much you're in and out of the hospital for all these different reasons. But there's a few things you mentioned that kind of I really want to dig into more. One thing I want to ask, in reading about you, researching it, you talk about how your dad and grandmother were in Korea. Did you get these surgeries done in the States or in Korea?
That's a good question. So when I was born, I got it in the States because I was born in Oklahoma and I had stayed. It was too young. I was too young to be traveling. Um, of course, before I could even talk. Um, and then once I was cleared to go travel, my parents had we had all kind of moved to Korea so that I could get more close attention put on my condition because surgeons, the medical team or medical kind of industry in Korea, when it comes to plastic surgery, which at the end of the day, this all is the best in the world, and they wanted to get the best doctors and the best treatment that I could for my condition, and so from that point on, I had all of my surgeries in Korea.
All right. So another thing you had mentioned that kind of led me to think that you got this done not in the United States was you said a doctor told you to do breathing exercises, which seems like I don't think I've ever met a doctor, at least personally, that says to use breathing exercises for anything.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in breathing exercises. They are amazing. There's so much power in our breath.
Right.
But you saying that is like, I was like, that's why I had to ask if it was done in the States or not. That
Yeah,
doctor that recommended that, was that in Korea or was that here in the States?
that was in. I mean, that was both. I mean,
Really?
the doctors in America, because I wasn't able to breathe
Okay.
by myself, and of course, you need to breathe to live, right? It's the thing. It's the function that we do most often. You think about anything that we do: blinking, breathing, walking. Breathing's the thing that we do most frequently, right? And so to not know how to breathe, and to have a condition that made it hard for me to do that, I was really fighting for my life to survive. And so um, it was both in America and in Korea, but I would say just because of the timeline of when the doctors saw me, there was more of a focus in breath work when I was in Korea. The doctors in America were just more focused on, you know, giving like precaution, kind of, hey, like your son's going to have a hard time breathing, and
Mhm.
here are some of the kind of exercises that he can do to improve that. And of course, this was before I was even 1 year old, so there wasn't as much emphasis on that at that point in my life. It was more like uh I don't know what the word is, but um them doing the work on me rather than them um having me do the work just because I was so young. So having them put tubes in my mouth so that I could breathe, put oxygen in my body so that I can live was was more the focus for the doctors in America.
So with these breathing exercises, do you remember some like the first ones that you had to do? Like what do you what's the first breathing exercises that comes to mind that you had to do as a child?
Yeah, it was because it was so focused on my uh my mouth. I remember the first technique being literally just working on the muscles on my in my lip and my nose so that I can get air through my nose. Because when you think about a gap in between my lip and the roof of my mouth, there isn't any separation
Mhm.
from mouth breathing to nose breathing. It was all mouth breathing. And so when they had closed the gap, they had me focus on the muscle that was at the roof of my mouth and focus on building the muscle on the top of my lip. And so I remember they had a I think technique called pursed breathing where they had me imagine blowing air out through a straw and in through a straw. So it was having a kind of like a smaller forming kind of like a smaller mouth. Um, and then using the muscles at the top of my lip to breathe in and through my nose and then breathe out while having this formed kind of shape with the mouth out. And so I remember that being more the focus on more like muscle building in the lip and the mouth as kind of weird as that sounds. But yeah, that was the first exercise that I remember them having me do, just repeatedly just breathing or repeatedly just flexing the muscles in my lip and my mouth and focusing on that while I try to get air in through my nose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing because I know a lot about like most of our muscles. I love bodybuilding. I love personal training, very deep, extensive knowledge in human anatomy. I don't think I ever learned about muscles in our lips and at the roof of our mouth.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
not something I was even familiar with.
Right.
It's fascinating that doctors had you do breathing exercises to literally strengthen muscles in your mouth.
Right.
Have you ever seen people do mouth taping and they showed like how that changes their facial structure?
Yeah, yeah. I've seen pictures of that and how it can affect how the mouth protrudes or retracts. Um and yeah, I've seen it. For me, I mean, I didn't look at it like that. The reason for that is at that point in my life, I was focused more on survival, and I see
Mhm.
um these um these exercises are kind of or like trends with like mouth taping as more of a way to like optimize. Like you're already in a good place, like pretty like good, like you're living, you're not gonna die from the point that most of these people are learning these techniques, and you're trying to improve, which is great, which all of us should try to do. When I was learning, it was more from a place of if I don't do this, I'm going to die, and I wanted to get into a place of like just being normal and learning how to be stable. And so yeah, I've heard of those practices, and I definitely encourage people to continue to do those things, of course, in a safe way. Um, but it wasn't something that I was as familiar with early on. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because there seems to be that synchronicity of people doing these things and you were unaware of them, especially as a child. You weren't like, oh, I want to optimize. I'm just, like you said, you're trying to survive. So it's so fascinating to me that we have these exercises that can help people that were in like, your condition, but we don't really ever talk about them. So,
Yeah, it's an interesting thing not to talk about. I mean, I spent a lot of my life, you know, being conscious about the importance of breathing, right? Just because of my condition. But as I start to think more and more about it, again, it comes back to what we do most often,
mhm.
right? Like if we're going to talk about like living optimally, right? You want to start to consider what the thing what the action that us as humans biologically do most often, because that's going to be the part that gives us the most room to grow, right?
Mhm.
And what is it that we all do as humans most often in our daily lives, regardless of whatever whatever the weather is or whatever we're going through? What is it that we all do most often? It's breathing. We breathe every second, right? It's more than we do it more often than blinking our eyes. We do it more often than eating. We do it more often than walking, right? And so, in my opinion, it only makes sense to learn more about how to breathe properly because that affects how we do everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I started looking into my own breath work years ago, and it felt like such a game changer learning all these different breathing techniques. Uh, so, yeah, I completely agree. I think there should be more of a focus on it.
Right.
And so, speaking of breath work, I kind of want to take this full circle back into Jacoby Plunges.
Mhm.
So, with breath work, I'm sure that has a lot to do with getting really cold. I know when I'm plunging, if I don't focus on my breath, it just becomes so much harder.
Right.
You have any breathing practices you do like when you're plunging?
Yes, I do. It's something that I think it's something that's very important to address when anyone is cold plunging, especially for people that are just starting out. I never want to get people in a position where they're never going to do it again. They get so freaked out, they get so scared or so kind of like pain, like feel so much pain that they're like, I'm never doing this again. And one thing I would do is to breathe out when I go into the water. What I mean by that is as you touch the water, start to breathe, start to exhale, start the process of exhaling. The reason for that is that when your body touches cold water, the natural instinct is for you to inhale, right? But when you don't have any air, when you don't have any space in your stomach to inhale, that's when you freak out. That's when you start to hyperventilate because your body thinks that there's no more air to inhale, right? So that's the first thing, going in on the exhale. After that point, what I tell people is to breathe as deep as you can and try to pause at the end of each breath. This way you're allowing your body to have slower breath. Why is that important? It's because when you start to imagine people in a stress situation, stress environment, what do they typically do with their breath? It's very short and fast, right? You don't want to be in that state, especially when you're in cold water, when your body is, in a stress state. And so those are the two techniques, or those are the two kind of tips that I have for people when they're getting into the water when it comes to breath work. Now, when it comes to people that are just starting out, I always encourage them, start out with a cold shower. You don't need to go into like 37-degree temperature body temperature water to start. That's going to freak you out. One, and then two, it's really not that necessary. Like for in most cases, it's not necessary for just like the average person. Even if you're like a top athlete, really all not that necessary. And it's something that again you want to have consistency and longevity in, and you're not going to get that if you jump right into a body of water that's like 37 degrees and not knowing how to breathe properly while you're doing it. It's going to in most cases discourage you and you'll never do it again, which is not the point of this, right? So those are the kind of tips and exercises that I use or encourage people to use when they're getting into the water, especially for the first time.
All right. So, love that. I'm going to have to try that exhale on entering part because I always seem to have that little bit of gasp whenever I get fully submerged. Um, Typically, I just power through it, but if anything that can make it easier, I will try.
Yeah.
So, and you're very experienced with cold plunge at this point. So, I got to ask, does it ever not suck during it?
No, never.
I had a
Never,
feeling that was going to be the
ever.
answer.
It's ironic. I hate the cold.
Hmm.
Somebody asked me the other day what I keep my house at temperature wise. I keep it at 76. I hate the cold. And so, it is challenging every time. And that's the point of it for me, that it is challenging. Of course, I have the physical benefits. I get the physical benefits of cold plunging, but that's not why I started, and that's not the main reason why I do it now.
Hmm.
Um, Really, for me, it's a way to overcome some of those challenges, some of those voices that we hear in any challenge that we do, and learning how to quiet them down. And I find that it's applicable in so many other areas of my life that has really transcended me to new heights because I started to cold plunge and address some of those voices that would tell me all these negative things, or all these kind of all these words that would stop me from doing something that is good for me ultimately, but is a little bit challenging at the time. And so no, it's never easy, and I never want it to be easy. um Otherwise it would defeat the purpose for me to do it.
I agree with you. I've been doing cold plunges, cold showers for years now. And same thing. People are like, oh, you must love the cold. I'm like, no, I hate it. Every time I'm about to get into that cold plunge, there's that little hesitation. It's like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Mhm. So, a lot of what you just said, it reminds me a lot of the Stoic philosophies. Are you familiar with those?
Yeah, there's a book, The Daily Stoic,
Mhm.
that's written by Ryan Holiday, that I read, and he has a journal edition that I use even now as a way to start my morning. So yeah, I'm familiar.
So, did you stumble into Stoicism before or after you started incorporating doing difficult things in your life?
Definitely after. It was something that I would find myself doing, but unconsciously. I didn't know these principles before, and once I started to learn them on my own, I started to adopt more and more, and to continue doing the ones that I've been practicing in a more conscious way. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I was just reading about doing like difficult things, challenges, and I started doing that. And I realized like everything else just kind of seems a little bit easier when you willingly do hard things.
Right.
And so you started doing that for yourself and you moved to Austin. You wanted to make friends. Where did you come up with the idea of doing hard things with other people to make them like you? Because a lot of people don't like doing hard things.
Yeah, it's a good question. And thank you for asking that. It's something that I started because I had no friends in Austin, right? And um, when I moved here, I was I was really not in a good place, and the reason for that is I had moved here because I had my relationship of 4 years ended
Mhm.
when I was living in Boston, and my mom lived here in Austin. So I wanted to be closer to a support system that I knew would get me through this hard period of my life. I'd also quit my job that I've been working, really my whole life for. I was a software developer at a marketing agency startup, building websites and making a lot of money. And I also didn't know any people. I didn't have any friends in Austin. So this was the time in my life that I guess people would call like a quarter life crisis, where I didn't know anyone. I was learning how to be independent for the first time, not being in a relationship, and I didn't have a job. And it was a period of my life that I really felt lost in, and didn't really know like how to live um in the way that I wanted to live. And so during this time, I had heard about this pool called Barton Springs. um And so I would go to Barton Springs, and naturally, it's a place that people go to find a lot of peace and find a lot of cool things, cool people to be around, and that's exactly what I found when I started going there, and I started to meet some cool people, and it was really a time for me be to be just in complete peace and slow things down in my life that was just so fast and so just uncertain. And that's what it was for me. That was it. That's like that was why I went to Barton Springs, and that was really the intention. I just planned on going every single day because it felt really good and it was very healing time for me. And naturally, my friends would ask me, "Hey, like, what did you do today?" or "How was your day?" And my answer would be, it was good because I went to Barton Springs. And they would ask me if they could come to do this with me. And of course, I didn't have any friends at the time, and I didn't want to meet friends by going out to the bars or staying out late or drinking. And so I gladly accepted anyone and everyone that asked to come with me to Barton Springs. And slowly it started to extend to their friends and then their friends and then their friends. And it was a way for me to bond with people in a way where I was present and I really got to know these people on a deeper level that I really enjoyed. So that experience for me really helped to make friends in a city that I didn't know anyone while doing something that meant so much to me in cold plunging and that place Barton Springs that um allowed me to slow things down in a time of chaos. And so it was really the best of all the worlds to do that. And it got to a point where um, the city of Austin contacted me to say that there were too many people that were coming to the pool, like with me. And so I needed to apply for a permit in order to continue doing this. And I did do that, but I also didn't know how long that permit would take to get approved. And with any city ordinances, it just takes longer than you initially think. So I didn't want to wait, and I wanted to continue having these gatherings. So I reached out to all the spaces that I could think of that could host these events, and I landed at Kuya, which we're both very familiar with, that allowed me to have events there. And I had events there for some time, and then eventually moved to a space called Fuka that I'm at now, where I'm having events on a monthly basis that have around 100 people each time. And it's been a way for me to meet more cool people while doing something that's special to me, and to learn more about these different holistic practices that are so important um, to us um, living in this crazy world.
That's crazy to me that the city of Austin was like, "Hey, you're bringing too many people to a public place. Stop doing
Yeah,
that."
yeah. Well, that's exactly why they said not to, or that's exactly why they said that I wasn't able to do that, because it's a public space. I guess in public spaces, you're not allowed to have organized events without a permit.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
did not know that. That is good to know for future reference. So yeah, I mean, just from that, I'm learning from you. But
Yeah,
yeah, this
man.
whole
Great.
podcast, I'm learning a ton. So
Well, before we go on to the next thing, I mean, I kind of want to touch on that time, right?
mhm.
Getting that email. It was at the time very it was a time when I thought that it was over. When I thought that I wasn't able to do this anymore. And um I was able to reframe to think about what that really meant. What does it mean to get the attention of the city, right? It means that I was able to bring in so many people that it got their attention, right? And that, in my mind, is such a great thing, right? To be able to bring so many people together, to connect and do something that's good for themselves. And so, really, I think back to that time and really think so positively about that experience, because otherwise it wouldn't have gotten to this point. I could have easily just continued doing the events at Barton Springs, which would have been great, but it wouldn't have gotten me to the growth that I've gotten to now, where it's so much more than coming to a public pool with a bunch of people to plunge in cold water, right? And so I really do appreciate um, having that, getting that email and facing some adversity during that time, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to grow and to get closer to my eventual, um, mission, um, which is to expand, um, to expand across all modalities that are good for us to do outside, more than just cold plunging.
So it almost seems like an underlying theme of everything we've talked about so far is that adversity has been a part of your life and you have looked it straight in the eye and tried to go through it or think your way through it as opposed to just giving up.
Right.
And that is something I think everyone should really think about because I believe, and it seems like you believe the same thing, is that adversity is what helps us grow, doing the hard things.
Right.
So I love your message. You've got to really grow. And the only way to do that is to do hard things. And if you're not
Yeah.
facing adversity, like a city telling you what to do, sometimes you got to bring that adversity into yourself, like doing these cold plunges, because they're always going to suck, but that's what makes them great.
Yeah, it allows you to make the other hard things in your life a little bit easier. And when you stack these hard things one after another, then you get a lot closer to your goal than you realize that you initially could. And I think that that's really the whole point of being here, right? We all have goals, we all have aspirations, we all have dreams, and what's stopping us from doing those things? It's only ourselves. Everyone has capabilities to do anything that they put their mind to. It's just that ladder that really stops people from doing it. And I truly do believe that by doing hard things like cold plunging, or it could be something else for everyone, but by doing something hard that allows you to practice the muscle of overcoming them, specifically by telling that voice to shut the fuck up. Like that's really it. That voice that we all have that just tells us the water's too cold, or I didn't get enough sleep, or there's nobody that's around me to care if I'm doing this. All these voices that we have, whatever that voice might say that discourages us from doing those hard things, it's just telling that voice to stop and to really just quiet down, that allows us to take that into the other parts of our lives, because life's hard. Like I don't want to sit here and say that life's easy, because really not. It's really uncertain. There's so many curveballs, so many things that happen that we don't know is going to happen. But that's not the point. The point isn't to be like, I'm going to make life like the point isn't life, I'm making life easy. The point is life is hard, and I'm going to learn how to manage that hard by doing hard things to make those other hard things in my life a little bit easier, and to stack these one after another to make make that make get closer to the goal that you have set out for yourself. That's kind of what I how I like to live my life, and I want to encourage and inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, that message resonates with me very deeply. I love that whole topic of doing the hard things. And there's a lot of like internet rabble talking, oh, cold showers, cold plunges, they're not going to change your life. They're overhyped. And you're right. Cold plunges, cold showers, they don't change your life, but they give you the strength. And I believe this to change your life. They don't do it, but they give you the strength to.
Right. 100%. And you think about all the hard things that we have in our lives today, and one of the hard things that I want to address is we're going through an epidemic right now, specifically with loneliness. We all have friends, we all have people in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
but are we really aligned with all of those people that we have in our lives? Are we really spending time with the people that we want to spend time with? And if we honestly ask ourselves that question, I would argue that most of the people that, you know, were around don't serve us in the way that we want them to, right? And it's a hard thing to say, um, but I just look at that and really try to, and this is outside of, like family and the friends that we've had, since birth, but like those other people that are in our lives, especially in a city like Austin where there's so many new people. I think that it's so important that we learn how to connect again and socialize and do it in a way that is from a place of like safety and like genuine like curiosity. That word community gets thrown around. I think it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets used too loosely to where, you ask one person what it means and ask another person, their definitions are a little bit different, which, is fine. But I think at the core, when I think about community, it's really about being with other people that make you feel safe and that truly care about you and vice versa. And a bonus is if you're doing it, if you're doing it with an activity that you guys both enjoy doing, right? At its simplest form, that's what community means to me. And I think that we've lost how to build that. You know, we all have um, friends again, but learning how to be um, aligned in values and learning how to socialize is something that I want to take on for myself and build a platform or a space for people to do that as well. And I think that by doing something good for ourselves with other people is the best way to build community and um, to build bonds through something that's challenging. You asked how do I bring people to do something that's hard for themselves earlier. The how, that's a different question that kind of goes into the marketing side of things. The why is that it builds that bond, right? When you do something like cold plunging with somebody else, you're in a vulnerable like state with the
Mm-hmm.
other person. It forces you to bypass some of the initial surface level things that you would maybe talk about out in the bar, at night, maybe when you're drinking and in a state of um, numbness that you don't get anywhere else. I think about the amount of times that you would have to go out to the bars and drink to equate to the number of times that you would get to know someone by cold plunging with them. And it's just a crazy number, right? You think about it, like we can talk about optimization or efficiency here and numbers. If your goal is to connect with someone, to make a bond with someone, to meet someone new and call them a friend, if that's your goal, don't you want to be put in a state of presence and a state of, you know, feeling you like yourself to do that?
Mm-hmm.
What does doing, meditation or cold plunging or yoga or these other health practices do? they put you in a mental state of that. It prepares you to get to know someone you're in a good place when you're meeting someone by doing that. When you're going out and drinking or doing whatever else that people do when they're going out, what does that do to your state, your mind, your body? What does that do? It numbs you.
Mhm.
Right? And so again, if your goal is to meet someone and to get to know them and work on some of the loneliness that we're all facing, I truly do believe that having these types of events, having these types of gatherings is what gets you there in a more organic way, in a way where you're being yourself, in a way where you're doing something that's good for yourself, and in a way that you're able to share some of these hardships with, in a safe way. um and I truly do want to address that problem that we're facing right now in this world, especially after COVID, and especially after this convenient time that we're in. It's never been easier to be in your house and learn and to eat and to do whatever else. It's never been easier. It's so easy to just be home and be by yourself. It's never been easier to be by yourself. And I believe that by doing things, by addressing those concerns that we just talked about, by not by going out and doing something good and healthy and challenging with somebody else, that's the fast track to building healthier relationships, right? And so I want to create that type of event where people can do that, where they're reframing what it means to socialize, what it means to go out. And that's ultimately what I want to do, to get people together to do something that's challenging for themselves and with other people. And that's it.
Yeah, I think there's something powerful in that shared adversity that we experience doing something like cold plunging, which is very difficult to do and never gets easier. But being around other people that are willing to go through the same adversity as you, that are willing to take on that same level of suckiness,
Right.
kind of forms a bond between you all.
You're
And
also half naked.
yeah, that too.
Like you're in a the reason I bring that up is you're in a vulnerable state,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you think about all those barriers that we have, all those like layers that we have that we put up because for whatever reason. And if you can find a way to peel back the layers in a safe way, obviously, then that's the best way to get to know someone, right? If you're able to take the surface level, things down and really get to know someone on a deeper level, then that's really the whole point of why we're here on this earth. And we were never meant to be alone as
Mm-hmm.
humans. We were always meant to be with others. And in a time that is the hardest to do that, I want to be the person that brings people together um and allows them to grow in the way that they're all looking to do.
Yeah, you're allowing people to be with other people when they are at a very vulnerable spot.
Right.
Just did something hard. They're half naked. They're probably still shivering and freezing, trying to warm up, and they're just seeing all these people doing the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, there's something beautiful about that.
It's beautiful, man. It's the most beautiful thing that we can do. It's natural. It's it's going in cold water with other people. Um, there's a component where there's a DJ there, you listen to music, um, and you're challenging each other to do it. Um, there's a component of my event where I break people out into groups, and I really encourage them to treat it like a team. You know, everybody is there to pick each other up when they're having a hard time. And I think that accountability for more connection and uh, allows for more bonding. You know, when somebody isn't able to stand in the cold tub for 3 minutes, then the next person stays in a little bit longer. You know, each group has like a certain amount of time that they go in, so that there's a sense of camaraderie, there's a sense of teamwork that I believe is so important in really learning how to be in a group, right? You don't want to let the person down next to you, right? And so I think it encourages this team group mentality that we've lost over the years and want to bring it back.
Yeah, I'm loving all of this. I'm gonna have to get to one of these events myself.
Oh, man.
Next one.
Next one. So next one, February 25th. I don't know if this is gonna come up before then or after then, but again, I'm having these monthly, and if you know this doesn't come out before then I will be having one in March, then April, then May, and the end of time. So
See, this should be coming out on the 21st, as long as I can keep my timeline going. So yeah, February 25th, 2024, in case you're listening to this in some other year. So yeah, this will be out on the 21st.
okay.
And yeah, so I'm gonna also get all of your information and put it in the show notes so people can find you and get to these events whenever you're hosting them.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to try it out now. Had no idea you also had a DJ there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's making it accessible.
Mhm.
Thing. You think about all these health modalities, they've been around. Cold plunging has been around. Yoga's been around. Sauna's been around. How do you get the person that's living in Idaho to go into these things, right? Like you add some music to it, you know, you add some food to it, you add a great speaker to it. And they might not come for the cold plunge, but I guarantee you they'll leave because the cold plunge was the best component of the whole event. And that's really what it is. And my goal is to make it accessible for everyone to do it, whether you're older, whether you're younger, whether you're a man or a woman, or neither or both. You know, like I want to make it accessible for everyone so that they're able to reach their goals that they all set out for themselves. Um, and so yeah, that's really the goal. And I'm opening up my own space to have smaller, more intimate gatherings for people to learn more on a one-on-one or one in a few like settings. And I just got a sauna to that I'm putting on a trailer to be able to take it to other places and bring the sauna and cold plunge experience to whatever place that they're in, wherever they're at. So really, if you're not able to come to my event, I'll come to you. And if you want to find out more details, then you can come to my Instagram that Drake will put up, or my website at jacobyplunges.com.
That's exciting. That's first I'm hearing about this. A mobile sauna cold plunge, mobile
bro,
contrast therapy.
Putting it on a trailer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's you think about, the places that don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
There are places that don't have saunas and cold plunges, and I want to be able to bring it to those places. You think about retreats that want to be in the middle of the woods. You think about some apartment complexes, some gyms that don't have it. Some homes that want to have like an event that might have like a bachelorette party or something like that. Like, they want to have this on a cold plunge. They can hit me up.
Yeah. Oh, I think I lost you.
There are other businesses that are doing this. I just thought they would know this. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hold on, there's a bit of a lag in it.
Okay,
There
we
we
can
go.
get up to speed.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a no-brainer to get the sauna and cold plunge on a trailer. Mobile. The first mobile sauna cold plunge in Austin.
Maybe in the country, because I've never heard of that. That sounds really cool.
They exist. They exist. I've talked to a couple of people to consult them on the idea and just kind of how it all works from a business standpoint, and they definitely exist. But I'm looking to expand that and really finalize some of the details of getting it assembled. So it's almost up and running, and I'm looking to make an announcement at the end of the month to open it up for anyone and everyone that's looking. So this is perfect.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, the first thing that came to my mind was doing this at like near a hiking trail and just
Yeah.
doing the contrast therapy and going out in the woods with a
Yeah.
group. That sounds spectacular.
Yeah. If there's anyone looking for a hike, sauna cold plunge, hit me up.
All right.
I'm there.
I think that's a great place to end it on because I'm excited. You sound excited for this as well. I'm so thrilled to see where this goes.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say for anyone looking to start anything, whatever it is, a business, a relationship, or something for yourself, you can do it. It's something that we all have in us, and it's just about telling that voice to shut the fuck up and doing it. This whole thing is not what I planned on doing. I just want the listeners to hear that. It was something that I did for myself. Whether people showed up or not, I didn't care. It was an added bonus. And so that allowed me to really take this and be happy with it regardless of what the outcome is or what look like. And that's allowed me to have longevity, and that's allowed me to have success in this, in the opportunities that I got through having that mentality. When you're authentic and when you work hard, people will notice. You don't, it's, and most of the time it's the reverse. People want to get noticed, and that's why they put authenticity and hard work into it. That's not how this works. The reason for that, it might work for a little bit, but you won't have longevity when you have that mindset. And I just want to make that distinction because opportunities are always there. It's just how you're going to show up when those opportunities come. And you show up by really enjoying what you're doing and working hard at it. And I truly believe that that's the secret to having success in whatever avenue or whatever path that you're on. And so I just wanted to say that to everyone, and also add as a way to support my argument. The way that the sauna and cold plunge actually happened was because I got funded for it, not intentionally. I didn't ask for funding. This was not something that I had planned. Um, Somebody had took notice of what I was doing and believed in me to fund the mobile and cold plunge like experience. And again, I did not look for it. This opportunity was presented to me because I was able to show that I truly had a passion for cold plunging and building community, and I worked hard at it. And so for everyone that's saying, I need to have this result by X time and it has to go this way, that is something that for me hadn't worked because I got discouraged from all the thoughts that I had about what needed to be done to get there. And it wasn't, in my mind, possible. It was just too overwhelming. But when you take it day by day, you will get there before you know it. But really appreciating the present moment and what's in front of you allows you to get there. Because when you start, you go to the next thing. And then when you get to the next thing, you get to the next thing. But when you think about the end, more often than not, you're not going to even start. And that's the hardest part that anyone has when they're pursuing a goal or a project or a dream of theirs. starting. So I
Mhm.
challenge everyone to just start and worry about that result later, because that result will come when you just start. So I believe in everyone. I believe everyone has the capabilities within them to realize their dreams and their goals. It's about starting and worrying about what that could look like later, because more often than not, it will look a lot different than you want it to look like or you ever think that it will look like. And it will look a lot better than you ever realized it could. So that's what I want to leave people with, um, when they're thinking about starting their own thing.
Yeah, those are some inspiring words. Again, the hardest thing to do is take that first step. So thank you so much, Jacoby,
Yeah,
for all of this. I've learned so much. You've inspired me to do even more. So thank you.
of course. One last thing. I know that there's.
Mhm.
I know that you're about to end this. Something that I like to ask myself is, why not me? Why not now? And if you really ask yourself that question, you don't have an excuse. You, you know, if I want to start a podcast, what's stopping me from going on Spotify, making an account, using my phone, and hitting record and talking and putting it on Spotify right now? What's stopping me? If it's to start a business, what's stopping me from filing an LLC and, you know, making a bank account and connecting the accounts together? What's stopping you from whatever it is that you're trying to do right at this moment? And that question really allowed me to start. And it's not going to be perfect by any means, but that's not the point. Nothing's going to be perfect. And asking that question really allowed me to just get to that point from 0 to 1 that a lot of people have a hard time doing. And I had a hard time doing. I still have a hard time doing, but I'm a lot better at it now. But asking that question really allowed me to take action right now. And that allowed me to take things further than I ever could have realized. So I'll leave it with that.
Well, it's like you can read my mind because I ask myself that question all the time. And I feel like there's one word in that question that changes you from a victim mentality
Right.
to taking control of your destiny. And that is going from why me to why not me.
Right.
I think you explained it so well. That's something I wish everyone would ask themselves more.
Yeah,
That first step.
it's because I struggled with it, right? I struggled with it. And luckily, I had friends that would challenge me and encourage me to do it, right? And once I did it, I realized it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that hard. I remember going to Kuya and talking to Dalton, who's the CEO, that morning that I found out that I wasn't going to be at Barton Springs anymore. In my head, I have all these thoughts. Oh, I need to come prepared. I need to have all these things. Oh, what if he rejects me? What? I had all those things. I'm not saying you won't have those things, but when you go take action, you realize that the other person is not thinking as much as you realize that, or as much as you think that they're thinking. Right? It's not as bad as you put it out to me. And when you're in your room by yourself and you get in your own head, then it's just not a good recipe for action. You learn by doing. And when you do, you will get to where you want to be. And I just want to stress that, whatever reasons you have in your mind that are stopping you, I don't want to invalidate them. I'm not saying it's not hard, but I'm saying it's possible. There's always a way to pivot. There's always a way to get around whatever that reason is. And having this mindset allows you to push further and further. There's always a way. And I've really learned to adopt that and really have been able to get closer to what I want to get to by adopting this mindset. There's always a way, and you are so capable and so, you know, equipped to get there. I don't believe in any reason that could stop someone from getting closer to their goals. I don't believe in like a single bit at all. There's nothing. Only, only, like, only you can get in your own way of getting closer to your goals. And so I challenge everyone to take that first step, understand that it's not going to be perfect, and then ask for feedback from friends that you have that will be honest with you, and just iterate and make a better version. And you just keep doing that over and over again, and you will get to the best product or best event or best whatever than that you will ever realize that it could ever be. And so that's yeah, I would say that that's really the words that I have for people that are struggling to just start and do the things that they want to do.
And hey, if you're looking to make that first step, nothing stopping you from going to one of these cold plunge events and doing something hard with Jacoby.
Yes, sir. Come through. And if you want any more, if anyone's looking for, someone to talk to about this, or to share share more of my story, you can find me on Instagram and just DM me, and I'll get back to you as fast as I can.
Yep. And all of this will be in these show notes. His Instagram, email, website. Find all of that in the show notes below. Get a hold of Jacoby. Go to these events. Toughen up a little bit. Get cold. And
Get
enjoy.
cold. I'll see you guys.
And thank you, Jacoby. That wraps another episode of Get Great Health. It's been an incredible journey today, and I hope you're walking away with insights that light up your path to the best self. Remember, the pursuit of health is a journey, not a destination, and every small step counts. If you've been inspired by today's episode and you're looking for more personalized guidance on your health journey, I'm here to help. Dive deeper with my online nutrition and fitness coaching services. Together, we can tailor a plan that's as unique as you are, setting you on the path for achieving your health goals. Reach out and let's make greatness happen. And don't forget to connect with us on social media for daily doses of inspiration and the latest in health and wellness. Follow us on Instagram at GetGreatDrayke, DRAYKE, where I share behind-the-scenes content, tips, and so much more. Also, join our Facebook group, The Immortality Project, to be part of a community passionate about living their healthiest lives. Before we sign off, remember to subscribe to the Get Great Health podcast on your favorite platform. Share this episode with someone who could use a boost in their health journey. It might just be the nudge they need. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep pushing, keep striving, and remember, I want you to get great health.
Can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory.